Hey everybody, and happy Memorial Day. I had actually recorded a video for Mai, the 17th of May, Norway's Constitution Day, kind of their, Day of Independence, sort of. It was when they were trying to make sure that they stayed free from those dirty, dirty Swedes. Anyway, it was so windy that the audio was almost totally indecipherable. Tonight I have a much calmer, more beautiful evening, and I am here to talk to you. Now, today's beer is the Springbok from Utepils Brewing in Minneapolis. Now, it was kind of a serendipity that I'd learned about Utepils. First, on the KFAN morning show, they had some guys in from Utepils Brewing, and I was like, well, that's kind of an interesting name. And then, not a day or two later, my mom sends me an email listing 30 things that makes it cool to be a Norwegian, or how great it is to be a Norwegian, or ways to be more Norwegian. And one of them is Utepils, which literally means outside Pilsner, or beer that you drink outside. I don't know about all the lore. There's something about it on the brewery page, or something about it in that little article that I read, but basically it's about having that beer outside, enjoying being outdoors, especially in the spring when it finally warms up and the sun's back in the sky after months and months of darkness. So I am really excited to be drinking this outside. Let's give it a crack. That's subtle and smooth. That's very tasty. A little hint of bitterness, but it really fits with the overall flavor of the beer. It's pretty rich. I like it. According to the can, it's a European-style Hellerbach, 6.8% alcohol by volume, and 36 IBU, which is, I believe, International Bitterness Units, which tells you how bitter things are. I learned that at Trap Rock Brewing, actually. I'm learning. On the can, it says Springbok. It's worth surviving a long, cold winter if you get to drink this in the spring. Springbok represents the gleeful leap from winter dreariness to spring renewal. It has all the depth and strength of a wintry lager, balanced with enough lightness to put a spring in your step. I think that fits. Yeah, it's with a name like Springbok, I guess I expected it to be a little lighter, a little fruitier, but it's not heavy per se. It's just very smooth and rich, like I would expect from a more wintry lager. So that explains it. There's a little bit about the brewery here on the can too. Utepils Brewing is a Minneapolis craft brewery steeped in the traditions of the European brewmasters. Our sophisticated yet timeless brews pair well with friends and a sunny outlook on life. Our beers are inspired from around the world, but brewed locally for you. Now, I've never been there, hoping to make it there, but the brewery looks really awesome, and I've heard really good things from the people who have been there. Nothing better than a beer by the fire. It is a lovely spring evening, and after the long, drawn-out, cold snow, rain, one day of sun, snow, rain we've had, I am so excited that we got a couple nice days for Memorial Day. On to the Vikings. So this is like the quietest time of year. OTAs are going on, the draft is over, free agency's really settled down. The big talker is Kyle Rudolph. Now, of course, he's been a rock-solid member of both the team and the community since he joined the team, but he's got a pretty big cap hit. And the team is really strapped for cash because they've signed so many of their starters to big, big contracts. The team would likely be looking to extend him in a way that reduces the cap hit this year, that makes it possible for them to sign other free agents should an injury happen or something like that. It seems like everyone's got a pretty level head about it. There's not a lot of posturing, but it's a business, and they all seem to acknowledge that it would suck for him to leave or get traded or cut. So that's kind of the main talker. But to me, it brings up an interesting point. I think the Vikings are built to either win the Super Bowl in the next year or maybe two, or totally tear this thing apart and rebuild. They are in such a strange position. It's a good position. It's a good place to be. They've got stability. They've got the same coach. They've had the same GM for years. They've got a defense that you can depend on. They've got so many of their homegrown players signed to long-term contracts. They've got this stable core. And in theory, they have great talent across the board. It all hinges on that offensive line, which, I mean, not to toot my own horn, but if you go back and watch last year's videos, I believe I mentioned that week 1 could be a problem. So if they can't pull it off with this crew of players, you know, if it's a total flop like last year, I have to imagine things get stirred up a little bit, and I would hope that the Vikings realize what has to happen. If they can't get it done and then they need to start over with a new quarterback, I think they are better off selling stuff off and trying to get a franchise quarterback early in the draft in 2021 and allowing some of your pieces to stay behind, some of your cornerstones, but using all of your, I mean, they've done a fantastic job of drafting and keeping defensive starters and offensive talent, and they could turn those into a lot of really good picks. I don't want to see it. I would rather it be a dynasty, obviously, but it's kind of a, I think they're in a place where either they have to succeed or have a fire sale. Otherwise, they're going to be stuck in this like salary cap strapped, trying to squeeze every penny out of the piggy bank to try to pay for players, and I'm worried that they'll wind up wallowing in some kind of 8-8 purgatory. And what I honestly would think would happen before that is that either Rick Spielman or Zimmer would be fired. And I don't think that's what's best for the team. We've seen such stability and relatively dependable success over Zimmer's tenure. I think he and Spielman get along. I think they have a good eye for talent. I think they have a good thing going, and I would hate to see that get torn down because they've hitched their wagon to trying the same thing year after year after year. Not that it can't work. Obviously, they were close in 2017. Last year was a disappointment, but you know, new quarterback and a demolished offensive line and an offensive line coach that died right before the season. There were a lot of wrenches in those gears. I really, really hope that it works out this year, obviously. But if it doesn't, I think they need to look at the long term, maybe take the hit on one bad year and retool and hit the ground running again the next year. The way I see it working would be like the Oakland Raiders could work if John Gruden isn't totally insane. All the trades he made, though, all the moves they made as an organization right now seem ridiculous. Like, it's a total clown show. But they had 3 first-round picks. And if he's capable of leading that locker room, if he's capable of turning that team around, it'll seem genius in 10 years. The Vikings could do that. They have a ton of players signed to long-term contracts, and if it's not working, I would think they could turn those talented young players into draft capital and hopefully move up, get great players, and rebuild quickly instead of waiting years and years and years for the right thing to work out. That's a lot of Vikings talk. It's the off season, so I'm taking more of a meta approach to analyzing their moves, when really, I should just be enjoying the weather and this beer. Thank you all for watching. I hope you have a fantastic Memorial Day weekend. I hope you have a great summer, and I hope to talk to you before too long. Skál Fyrir. Happy Memorial Day, and go Vikings.